Hello, Hamish Conway here with Sebastian Hargraves, and this is TACOS Tuesday, episode number 6. And today we are going to be looking at the 5 fundamentals of Amazon PPC, what they are, and how to get them right. And before we started recording, I was going to Seb, look, Seb, why should people listen to this? What are they going to get? And he kind of looked at me deadpan and said, well, if they want to make more sales, they will listen to this. So anyway, so there we go. So we kind of like cut straight into it. And I was thinking after listening to a podcast this morning with this beautiful, like kind of slick intro and music and all of that, we don't have that yet. Maybe we should, but Seb, are you more of a, Metallica, heavy metal or jazz, or what would you be for if we were to have, choose some music at the start?
No, I'm a bit more of a Rocky Balboa, Eye of the Tiger type.
Eye of the Tiger. Eye of the Tiger. Yes. We should do that next episode, or even this one. I could edit that in. But if Eye of the Tiger, excellent. People would be pumped, wouldn't they? Just before listening.
Get that heart rate up too.
Amazon. I know.
Yeah.
This is the thing. You see, Seb is pumped about PPC, and I know some of you might not be, but it is one of those things that you get this right, and you will 100% be making more sales on Amazon. So anyway, let's crack right into it. We've got 5 fundamentals. Now, whether you are advertising already and you're experienced, like this will be great to just reflect back on, am I actually doing these fundamentals? Because it's really easy to get distracted and there's so many moving parts with Amazon ads that this could just bring you back to the fundamentals and making sure you're nailing those. That'll give you the best results. If you're not yet advertising on Amazon, or you're just getting started, then this is going to give you really good grounding and just education and around what you need to be paying attention to, again, amongst all the noise of things that are going on as you begin to advertise. So let's crack right into it. We've got 5, and so Seb, the first one we've got here is keyword research. So why is this fundamental, and how do you get it right?
Yeah, so keyword research, the reason that it's so fundamental is because Amazon, at the end of the day, is a search engine. People go there with a specific search intent. They search something and they're expecting to see, a certain result. And so with advertising, you really want to align the way you do your research with the way that people search for your product or your offering. You don't want to serve ads on things that are not relevant. And so keyword research and the process of doing keyword research is really important to make sure that you've got that relevancy aligned. Now, there might be certain keywords along the journey that you're not sure on, and so it's like you can test those and find out because the advertising data is going to tell you whether you stack up or not. But you want to get a good start and have a good base of keyword research to begin with before you start throwing dollars behind it.
Great. Okay, and so how do you do this right? What's the approach to knowing which keywords to, there's a whole lot of keywords there, which ones are relevant? How do you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to do it, but there's a bunch of different tools to use that you can use to sort of go in there. But the best way probably is to actually just look at some of the search terms, have a look at the products that are actually on those search terms, and are they similar to yours, or do they serve the same kind of purpose? Because relevancy is very subjective. Like one person can think something's relevant and another's not. So that's probably the hardest thing, is like getting that relevancy. It's also just thinking about the psychology of the person, like thinking about when someone's searching for this, what are they really looking for? Like what solution are they looking for? And that will, 9 times out of 10, work really well for you.
Great. So there's some tools that we use as well, like Helium 10, ZonGuru, are a couple there. There are others. And then what about the reverse ASIN research approach, or looking at Amazon's data? Like how do you use that?
Yeah, so depending on if you're a third-party seller or or a vendor seller, there's certain data that's accessible for both. But certain data is only available, like third-party generally has a much more data that's available for you compared to 1P sellers. So you can use third-party tools like Helium 10 and that on both. and that will help you do like a reverse ASIN to basically find out from your competitors, where are they ranking well on like what keywords, and generally wherever they're ranking well is where the sales are coming from. So we don't just look at ranking for ranking's sake. We look at ranking because it tells us like, okay, that's where they're most likely getting majority of their sales from. So yeah, that's that. There's also tools within Amazon, first party data, that you can go on Amazon and find out like what search volumes are, what's the most, what are the top click keywords, etc. for certain products. And so, using that probably as much as you possibly can, because it's Amazon's data, so it's probably the most accurate, is where you'd want to start. But then you'd use these third party tools to fill in like any gaps that you have in regards to your research and whatnot.
Okay, and then in terms of knowing the good keywords, like, because there's also, I mean, this is a hypothesis that you're doing, like in the balance of probability, this is most likely a search term. But for example, you could have, Manuka honey, which, yes, it's Manuka honey, but that's can be quite broad. So what about, and very competitive? There'll be something, I mean, like vitamin C, for example, would be very competitive. So how do you kind of deal with that? It's relevant, but it's super competitive. So what do you do?
Yeah, so I think environments like that, I mean, it depends on your goals as well, what you're trying to achieve. If you want to be number one in the category, you're going to have to figure out a way to compete on terms like that. But if there's enough sales volume outside of those terms, that's where you would look for the value, right? Like the cost per click might just be too high on those terms, but might be longer tail keywords where there's opportunities for you. If you imagine every keyword as like its own market, so Manuka honey might be a market, but then Manuka honey, UMF grade, 250 gram, like that's a long tail keyword with its own, its own kind of search volume and its own competitors or group of competitors that are inside that keyword. And when someone's searching that kind of term, the intent is very high. So, serving an ad and things like that become, valuable in that sense.
Yeah, more specific, high bar intent. Whereas Manuka honey could be for skin related, it could be for cooking related, or a bunch of different options. There's UMF, MGO, etc. So being more specific. And okay, we'll keep moving. I mean, actually, I think we'll do an episode just on keyword research and maybe, share screen and show some of how that works, because getting that fundamental right is there. But we'll move on to the second fundamental, which is campaign structure. So why is that fundamental, and how do we get that right?
Yeah, so I think most of the time you can tell if someone's been working in the industry for a long time or not based on how they name their campaigns, because we all know, like as your account grows and as Amazon gets more sales and things like that, generally you launch more campaigns. As you launch more campaigns, what happens is it gets very confusing on, what was I doing with this campaign? What was the plan with that? Or, is the performance good on this one? What's this ASIN for? What product is this campaign for, etc. And so naming convention helps you stay really clear and organized in regards to how to analyze, allocate budget, all of those different things within your naming conventions. We typically suggest to do one product for one campaign and include the ASIN of the product in your campaign title, and that way it'll keep it really, really tidy and clean within your campaigns.
So that starts to, you end up with a lot of campaigns, right? So why have single ASIN campaigns?
Normally it's because of the difference in the average order value or price between one product and another product. If you've got a really high price product, generally it'll be able to support a lower ROAS or a higher ACOS and still be profitable for you. So if you have a $100 product and you have a $10 product, those price points, are going to have very different cost per clicks. If you have them in the same campaign, you can't have the same bid for both of those, because you'd want to bid very high on a $100 product, and you'd want to bid very low on a $10 product possibly, right? And so
Yeah.
you want to separate them because the goals and the objectives of both of them are very different.
Yeah. And there's, and from an overall budget point of view, of product is out of stock, you can easily just stop that. Or if there's a promotion period on where you can target more at a particular ASIN as well. So that campaign structure, actually, if you go back to, I think it might have been episode 2 where we talked about the 9 critical mistakes, and we dive into that in more detail as well. And, and also if you do want someone to have a look at your campaign structure to know if you've got doing the fundamentals right, then that's something Seb can help you with. All right, so that's number 2, campaign structure, getting that right. Obviously, those single ASIN campaigns, and by ad type as well, with sponsored product, brand display, etc. And kind of really looping. Well, no, we'll get to that when we. My next idea that just popped in my head is the 5th one, so I'll keep that secret for now. All right, let's move on to number 3, bid management. So why is this a fundamental?
Yeah, this is the engine room of advertising. So this is where all of the changes happen. This is where all of the work is. This is, this is what advertising is. It is bid management, almost more than anything else. And so it's really important to have this, because this is part of it's part of doubling down on what's working and pulling away from what's not working. Is basically in its simplest form. That's what bid management is. Some of the things that we use to do our bid management, we think using conversion rate is like one of the best ways to manage bid management, because conversion rate is really closely tied to relevancy. If you convert super well, you're going to be higher up the page. You're going to get better return on your ads. You're going to get better organic sales. All of those things build on conversion rate. So it's one of the ways that we use a metric with inside our bid optimization.
So just to be clear, when we say conversion rate, so that is for every 100 people that hit the product detail page. What say if there's 100 there, 10 people buy, that's a conversion rate of 10%.
Yeah.
If 30 people buy, that's a conversion rate of 30%.
Yeah,
that's the one you're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And how do you and this is off on a little bit of a tangent here, asking the layperson questions. Yeah, so to be clear, so we've got paid traffic, but when you say conversion rate, you're looking at the accumulative conversion rate, or are you looking at just the conversion rate for paid traffic to that page?
Yeah, just the conversion rate of paid traffic, because we don't actually get conversion rate on a keyword level basis for the organic side of things. So we're just looking at that, but generally, like, that's going to be tied to your organic.
Tied to that, yeah. So it's on that search term, how many clicks convert to actual sales. So that's the conversion rate that we're really talking about there, just on the paid, not the overall page.
Yep.
So I just want to clarify that. So that's good. Now, what about with bid management? Because we're particularly early on, like when you're doing some research and you're looking to see what you can. Well, we covered off on launches last week and how we deal with that. How do you handle low data in terms of to know if it's good or not?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest issues with bid management is, like, sometimes you get into a spot where you're like, what do I do with this information? Because you don't have enough data to make a decision. And so, and a lot of the time we audit a lot of accounts. And one of the biggest buckets that we find with most accounts that never gets dealt with is these one-click, no order type search terms. And there's thousands of them, thousands and thousands of them. And so there's 2 ways to deal with it. The first is depending on where you are with your brand and where you want to take it. So if you're in like a bit of a growth mindset and you're trying to grow sales, it might be okay to have a lot of that. You want to continuously clean it up with negative matching though. So a negative matching, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically where you can go in, you can look at the search terms you appear for, and you can say to Amazon, hey, this search term, I don't want to appear for it because it's not relevant. So an example would be, I'm selling adult shoes and I keep showing up for kids' shoes. And it's like, well, my shoes won't fit kids because they're for adults. And so you can negative out any terms that would have the term kid or children or whatever the different variations of it would be out of it. So that's one way to deal with a lot of that low-click data and to keep it clean. The other way is to limit your amount of research that you do. And what we mean by research is there's a lot of different match types within inside advertising. And one of them's phrase, the other one is broad, and there's also what we call an auto campaign. And so basically you just limit your spend or your budget to those groups or those campaigns to basically just limit your exposure, because those campaigns are the ones that bring in all of these like one click zero order type targets or search terms. So you just limit your spend to those groups of campaigns. And again, this kind of loops back to the campaign structure we just talked about, where it's like, single ASIN, single match type, like, so you can control it like that. If you had them all together, you wouldn't be able to control it, or it'd be harder to control and, keep a lid on that kind of thing. So,
yeah, that's good. How often should you be changing bids?
Again, depends. Like it's a little bit of a depends. I mean, I think that you should be changing them probably once a week, but it does depend on the volume of data that you're getting in. If something's moving really fast and got a lot of data and a lot of like a keyword, really big keyword, you might do it more often than that. And then if it's something that's group of keywords that is not as much volume, you might wait fortnightly, so that you can collect enough data from your previous changes. And that's the key part. Like you need enough data from what you did before to know, is it working or not working, before you make the next set of changes.
Right.
Yeah.
But certainly bid management, this is one of the biggest bodies of work to complete, in terms of consistent optimizing through the month, right? And certainly in terms of what we do, and also with the help of technology as well, with thousands of campagns to be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, you could be making between 5 and 10,000 changes every day. For not even a big account, but a relatively decent sized account. 5 to 10,000 a day, and we haven't even touched on placement modifiers as well, which is a whole nother topic. But there's placement modifiers that fit inside bid management as well.
Excellent. Okay, and there's another episode. We can do just on bid management. Brilliant. There we go. All right, let's keep on rolling though. So number 4, related to bids to a degree, is budget management. So tell us why this is fundamental and how to get it right.
Yep. So you kind of touched on it a bit before around when you were talking about campaign structure, but budget management, it's important because you will need to you want to shift your budget around based on what's going to get you the best return. So we sort of talked about campaign structure so that we know that we can do that, and then now we've got the campaign structure. Now we want to be able to move our spend around to get us the best return, and so you want to you want to push your spend to things that are working. I've said this many times, that advertising will enhance whatever's good and it'll make it great. But if it's bad, it'll make it worse with the advertising. So budget management is about shifting your budgets around based on the data that you're getting back. It's a big feedback loop. You get the data in, and then you know where to do it. One of the ways that we manage budget is through TACOS, which is total advertising cost of sale. Basically, your ad spend divided by your total revenue. This gives us a good idea on like how much our budget is impacting the revenue piece.
Because you've really got and there's different stages, right? Early on you're going to have more growth based budget management, and then it's going to shift to more profit based with different goals really as well. So how do you kind of view that aspect as well?
Yeah, and even products that are in product launch, that's going to be a different type of a different type of budget management. So again, it is a little bit, where is the business at? Where are they trying to get to? And then that kind of helps, reverse engineer. Okay, this is what we're going to do with the budget. So sometimes, like I said, it's based on total advertising cost of sale, and we're willing to continue to increase that to grow revenue. Sometimes, if we're in profitability mode, we're looking to tighten it up and keep it a little bit within the company's constraints of, they might have certain budgets for, for the month, etc.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes that's a mistake, right? We're putting the handbrake on growth where something's going really well and running out of budget, or got a really high ROAS, and you just could be growing sales a whole lot more if it wasn't for the constraint. But anyway, that's for things like day parting, etc. Anyway,
Yep.
Okay. And then there is the $1 million question, like how much budget should you be putting towards this? And that's how long's a piece of string. It probably depends on which country for sure. Like the US, some categories can be significantly higher than what they would be in, say, Australia. But how do you if people ask that, how much should I spend? What's your answer to that?
I don't answer it. So it is hard to answer. There's a lot of factors obviously that come into it, and a lot of things you got to consider. I think the appropriate budget is the budget where you can continue to grow profitably, while still being able to fund like your whole catalog. And whatever that means depends on the size of your catalog. So, bigger catalogs, you're going to need more budget to do that. Smaller catalogs, obviously, it's going to be a lot less budget to fund that kind of growth. And as you just mentioned, it also depends on the category. Really high cost per click categories, you're going to need a lot more budget. I do use a very, very loose rule of thumb that every product needs at least a $1,500 budget per month. That will not work for some categories. So that would be like my bare minimum that I would say. So, but yeah, again, it does depend a lot.
Right. Okay. And that's where I guess if you do the ads audit, do the ROI piece modeling out. Okay, if we were to, based on these click-through rates, these conversion rates, and with this amount of budget, this cost per click, we can start to work out, well, this is what would make sense.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
So we're on to number 5. So we've talked about keyword research. Number 2 was campaign structure. Number 3 was bid management. Number 4 was budget management. And number 5 in the fundamentals for Amazon PPC is ranking. So talk to me about ranking and why this is a fundamental concept for people to be focusing on.
Yep. So ranking is all about increasing revenue and increasing sales. And ranking is all about doing it with spending the least amount of ad dollars as possible. So the reason ranking is super important is because advertising can help you boost your ranking, which can help you get free sales, and it can help you continue to get free sales and basically reduce your exposure to ads. So you can kind of use ads to kind of get the momentum, build up that momentum, hold that position, and then ease off your advertising to let your organic ranking take over and start to get those free sales. So that's kind of why it's super important. You're not going to be able to rank on everything, but and that's part of the journey with ranking. Like you've got to find out where you can rank and where you can't rank.
And part of that is looking at your offering compared to the competition, all things in terms of price, shipping, reviews, value, that whole value equation in the eyes of the shopper, and like, could you actually beat them? And if you go, yes, we could, then that's a keyword worth ranking for, right? And so it's almost it's like thinking about how do we win keywords, and then driving on the right ones, and the ones that you can't, you just back off and have a bid that's going to, if you do get a sale from that, it's going to be profitable. But that's a fundamental part of the algorithm, right? It is to build up the organic ranking. And this is when you come on as a new seller, why you've got all this work to do to overcome the incumbents who are already ranking really well. They've already got reviews, and this is why there's no freebies. You actually have to invest quite a lot up front to get this ranking, to get onto page one, so you can start to challenge these brands. And sometimes in established markets like America, this can take 12 months, even 18 months to kind of really have that be meaningful. So there is this investment period, but again, this comes back to, well, where can you win? And so doing that keyword research there, and then with the campaign structure being single ASIN, you can get really targeted in what you do. And bid management, you can start to, double down on what's working, pull back on what isn't. Budget management, put the right budget to everything there, and then this is all part of the game and ranking and growing these organic sales and growing your overall sales. So there we go. So that's the 5 fundamentals of Amazon PPC. So we hope you enjoyed that. And as you heard going through, we've already got at least a couple of other episodes lined up now to dive deeper onto some of those. And anyway, hey, thank you for joining the show again. And please subscribe, give us a rating, all of those things, depending on where you're listening or watching. And if you would like to understand what's going on with your Amazon ads, then go to gosellglobal.com, book a call there, and you can have a chat with Seb about getting an Amazon ads spotlight audit done, so you can really look under the hood and look at your advertising in a whole with a whole fresh lens. Excuse me. And people find this incredibly useful, just understanding where they are wasting spend, all those one clicks that are going nowhere, the campaign structure, where that's being inefficient, and underutilizing the ad types, and so much more. So have a look at gosellglobal.com. There might be a link underneath, depending on where you're watching again. But thanks so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And who knows, maybe next time we might even have some music. But if I have the tiger, you got the intro and then the outro as well.
Yeah.
But maybe we're not quite in that sophistication just yet. But something to aspire to. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Thanks, Seb. Really appreciate it. And you go well. Enjoy your the rest of your Tuesday. Hope you have tacos for dinner. All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Thanks, team.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.